The National Grid has told Sky News the UK's energy transition to low-carbon power sources will fail if a huge upgrade to its infrastructure is delayed or derailed. The development includes a 110-mile pylon route, which local opposition groups are campaigning against, which stands to impact the UK's net zero targets. Our business correspondent, Paul Kelso, reports.
I don't suppose you know exactly where it's going?
Pretty much where that cow in the middle is standing.
Okay.
Adam Scott has been farming this corner of Essex for years, and he's unimpressed by plans to plant a 50-metre tall electricity pylon on his land.
They pay a compensation of £6,000 as a one-off payment, and then it's there forever, ruining how you can manage this farmland. It's not the local issue here, it's the bigger picture. If wind power's coming out of the North Sea and the power's needed in London, put it down the North Sea.
Adam's farm is on the path of a new 110-mile-long pylon route that will carry power generated offshore from Norwich to Tilbury on the Thames estuary. National Grid says it's part of a massive expansion of the existing system, built in the 1960s to link up largely coal-fired power stations, that will connect offshore wind farms and new nuclear power and decarbonise the grid. But that national project is meeting local opposition right across East Anglia. The woman leading the campaign denies so-called NIMBYs are standing in the way of progress.
If the system involved communities right from the beginning, presented them with options and alternatives, let them discuss those options and alternatives, presented them with facts and the pros and cons, then you would end up with decisions being made much faster.
The amount of electricity we use is set to double in the next decade. National Grid say they don't have time to get snarled up in planning delays if the UK is to stay on track for net zero.
Over the next 7 or 8 years, we've got to build 5 times more infrastructure than is built in the last 30. There's no energy transition without a massive upgrade to the transmission system. It's an enabler for everything we want to do. But also there's huge gain for the country as well, because it will enable more economic development.
If that national goal of connecting clean green power to consumers is going to happen, the cables have to go somewhere. And going offshore is 4 times more expensive than pylons, even through places as pretty as this.
This valley is on the front line of a debate that cuts to the heart of the net zero challenge and broader questions about growth. Britain relies on private companies to invest in our critical national infrastructure, but that takes longer, costs more and is less attractive if every decision in the wider national interest can be blocked by local objections.
From power to new housing and transport, the planning system is a consistent obstacle. The government's infrastructure advisor says it needs reform so critical projects can be delivered.
What we have to do over the next 20 years does require boldness. It requires clarity. It requires a sense of leadership and a sense of this is very important for our country going forward. If we don't actually make the changes to our infrastructure that are necessary, we risk being left behind.
If local views are bulldozed aside, we can expect more conflict on the road to net zero. Paul Kelso, Sky News.